Today we are going to learn the MSc Part 1, Sem 1 Data Science Chapter 5 Utility Layer, and this is a part of Unit 1. So let's start with this chapter. Now, what is utility layer? We know that we have several business questions in our mind. Now, how to solve those business questions? So for that, we have to create utilities. Utility layer means it is used to store repeatable practical methods of data science. And the objective of this chapter is to define how the utility layer is used in the ecosystem. So utilities are common and verified workhorses of the data science ecosystem. The utility layer is a central storehouse for keeping all solutions at one place. Now, before going to the utilities, we have to understand that there are various general data protection regulations, and it is to be used when we are transferring the data from one system to another system, or we are processing the data. So, the valid consent of a legal basis for processing is required from the user. Then we have to ensure transparency. That means clear information about what data is collected and how it is processed. Support the right to accurate personal information. Then we should have support for personal data being erased. Then we have to have approval before moving the data from one service provider to another. And if suppose there is some automated processing, then that has to be permitted by the user. So let's go to the next. Now, basic utility design. As we can see that what's the basic structure of a utility design? We will have three entities. One is the input agreement, then the processing rules of utility, and then the output agreement. So whatever data that is given as input has to apply to the input agreement. Then the processing of utility rules will happen as per the rules, and then the output agreement will be checked, and then the output will be produced. So this is the entire ecosystem of basic utility design. There are three types of utility: data processing utility, data maintenance utility, and the processing utilities. So let's see one by one. First comes the data processing utility. They are grouped for the reason that they perform some form of data transformation within the solution, and that is why we call it as data processing utilities. Then comes the retrieve utilities. Utilities for this super step contains the processing chains for retrieving data out of the raw data lake into a new structured format. So build all the retrieve utilities to transform the external data lake into homogeneous ontology for recursive uniform schema. And we have the code and the data in the folder. Now, access utilities. Access utilities, this super step contain all the processing chain for quality assurance and additional data enhancement which is required at the time or maybe in different applications. Then comes the feature engineering. It is the process by which you enhance or extract data sources to enable better extraction of characteristics you are investigating in the data set. Then comes data vault utilities. So the data vault utility is highly specialist data storage technique that was designed by Dan Lindstedt. The data vault is a detailed oriented historical tracking and uniquely linked set of normalized tables that support one or more functional area of business. Actually, it's a hybrid approach encompassing the best breed between the 3D normal, third normal form, and the star schema. So here what we basically do is, if a data set is given in third normal form, we can convert it into a data vault. So the data vault basically has three structures. We have the satellites, we have the hubs, and then the links. And these three data structures are used to convert any data warehouse in 3NF into a data vault. Now you can see this simple data vault. Here we are having satellites. So satellites are basically our tables. Now all these three satellites are connected to a hub, and then these hubs are connected via links to other hubs. So it is actually trying to show the relational database with the help of hubs and links. Now transform utility. This super step contains all the processing chain for building the data warehouse from the results of the practical data science. And in this step, the system builds dimensions and facts to prepare data warehouse via a structured data configuration for the algorithms in data science to use to produce data science discoveries. That is why transform data step is very important. Now there are two basic transformation utilities. One is the dimension utility. The dimension use several utilities to ensure the integrity of the dimension structure concept, such as conform dimension, degenerate dimension, role-playing dimension, mini dimension, outrigger dimension, slowly changing dimension, late arriving dimension, and dimension type 0, 1, 2, 3. All these are taken care in the dimension utilities. So slowly changing dimensions we have already learned in the sun model, and the sun model is an example of that. In that we have also the dimensions which are 0, 1, 2 and 3 types. Then we have the fact utility. These consist of a number of utilities that ensure that the integrity of the dimension structure and the fact. There are various statistical and data science algorithms that can be applied to the fact that will result in additional utilities. Now, the data science utilities. So there are specific utilities that are required for achieving success in the data processing ecosystem. Data binning and bucketing. Binning and bucketing is actually used to reduce the effects of minor observation errors. Like statistical data binning is a way to group a number of more or less continuous values into small number of bins, and these bins or buckets can be used for averaging the set of data. Now, averaging of data, the use of averaging of feature values enables the reduction of data volumes in a controlled fashion to improve effective data processing. Outlier detection, it is also important to find out the outliers and remove it from the data, because if some value is very high or very low, then it may actually change our entire average or mean. So we should remove such outliers from our data. Then organize utilities, report utilities. Organize utilities. This super step contains all the processing chains for building the data marts. The organized utilities are mostly used to create data mart against the data science. Then the report utilities for this super step contain all the processing chains for building virtualization and reporting of the actionable knowledge. The report utilities are mostly used to create data virtualization against data science results stored in the data mart. And basically these are used for displaying the output to the user. If it's visualization, then we are able to understand the data. Then processing utilities, the data science solution we are building require processing utilities to perform standard system processing, and it requires two basic system utilities. One is the scheduling utilities, second is the backlog utilities. The scheduling utilities are used on a basic agile scheduling principle, whereas backlog utilities accept new processing requests into the system and are ready to be processed in future processing cycles. So with this we have come to end of our utility chapter number 5. Thanks for watching till the end.